Hungarian pagans revive old rites. Crescent scars are cut in face of newborn baby by priest of Turanian cult. The New York Times ran this story in 1936 about a ceremony in the town of Orosháza where cultists waved golden sun flags and allegedly cut gashes in a newborn infant's face, all after rumors about the cult sacrificing a white horse had circulated throughout Hungary for months. What was this religion, and did they really ceremonially mutilate a newborn baby? 1,200 years ago, Hungarians were in Central Asia, and the pre-Christian religion they practiced was much more similar to what Genghis Khan believed than Alexander the Great. In the early 20th century, Hungarian nationalists tried to resurrect this old religion, and two of those included lawyer Zoltán Bencsy and vegetarian restaurant owner Korai Köröspatáki Kis. They established the Hungarian monotheistic church in the 1930s. They published think pieces about paganism and instructions for cultic rituals in their periodical Turani Roham, or Turanist Charge. Ignore that the graphic design is pretty interesting, because if you browse through this periodical, you will find some of the most extremely racist and anti-Semitic writing within this entire subculture, all under the lens that Hungarians are Asiatic Turanians and that Turanians are the oldest race and chosen by God. The Turani Roham magazine featured useful tips like use an old-fashioned scimitar for ritual sacrifices, and ceremonies should be conducted on a hill if possible, but if weather permits, you can use a tent. But eventually they had their own building. The Turanian monotheistic church never gathered more than a few thousand followers, but some were quite wealthy and eventually funded the construction of the Pagan Tower, which still stands today in Budapest. Turanian monotheistic church was anti-Christian, anti-Western, anti-German, anti-Semitic, anti-everything, and even Bencsy and Köröspatáki Kis wound up despising each other and breaking away to form separate organizations. Some Turanist intellectuals and the general population found the cult interesting, but most people were understandably creeped out by it. And the graphic designer who made their publication look so good, if nothing else good can be said about it, he actually fathered Levente Soranyi, who's one of the most famous Hungarian rock musicians, and wrote this rock opera about Christians and pagans fighting during the original Christianity conversion. But what about the baby and the facial scarring? The New York Times articles quoted the cultists as saying that the cutting of the child's face was originally designed to scare the Turanians' enemies. Well, while these pagan LARPers talked a big game, a later investigation revealed there had been no cutting at all. The priest had, in fact, just used a red jam to simulate blood on the baby, and there was likely no sacrifice of a white horse either. But even still, for the crime of creeping everybody out, members of the Orosháza branch were still sentenced to 2 months in prison.